So for the first one, so how and where we can reduce and eliminate emissions, the big thing the majority of our table had to say was limiting the oil. So keeping oil in the ground and limiting our pipeline construction as it's not economically efficient. Focus also on public transit. So if we can target individual vehicle transport and really shut or limit that, focus on improving our public transit in Hamilton and encouraging people to carpool, use bus systems, that sort of thing. That will really eliminate our emissions or reduce them. And then for the next point, we want to really shift the subsidies that are being placed in the non-renewable industry right now and shift it to the renewable industry, because the technology for renewables it's attainable, but the funding is not there. So if we can shift the jobs that are in the non-renewable industry to the renewables, there's so many transferable skills there. So we just need to shift that funding and make that happen. One thing that one member of our group brought up, Sage, another intern at EH, she suggested or mentioned the idea of extended producer responsibility. So that's the idea of having the manufacturers pay a cost for the, disposing the things that they create. That brings up the discussion of where the blame lies, but we think that's something that should be explored. So for preparing for the impacts of climate change, we think a big thing is greenbelt protection. Keeping our arable land in Hamilton will really help us to focus on local food in the future when that's going to be increasingly necessary. Also focusing on sustainable urban development, so things like green roofs and improving infrastructure and improving our stormwater management in Hamilton, because these are all things that'll help with flooding, it'll help with keeping the temperature in the city down, and will help with just generally being able to manage the impacts of climate change that are coming our way. Going along with that point is also public transit. Improving our public transit will help. So for our last point, we agreed for the most part as a table to focus on just choosing a carbon pricing scheme and sticking with it, eliminating the large extended discussions about what's going on and what would be best and the pros and cons, and just picking one, because choosing one is better than discussing for 10 years about what's better. So we think just choose a carbon pricing scheme and get on with it, because it's something that needs to happen. And then also along that point would be funding renewables and doing further research into those, because that will help with that point also. So that's all. Thank you.